Well guys, it's 14 degrees out with a 40-mile-an-hour sustained wind. And we're supposed to preg check about 400 cows tomorrow. So I really hope it's not like this in the morning.
So we've had a lot of weather drama this week. The most recent being whether or not we're gonna have our preg checking appointment go as originally planned tomorrow. We got a bunch of snow yesterday, it's been below 0, and the wind is supposed to pick up tomorrow, which should make doing 400 head of cattle pretty miserable. So we've been in limbo a little bit today, trying to decide if we were gonna call off the appointment or go for it, and looks like we're going for it. So I got done with a day of office work and now I'm in the kitchen scrambling to get some desserts and some bread made to go with the lasagna that we're having tomorrow. So right now I have 2 batches of French bread rising. This is the same recipe that's in my cookbook. It's everyone's favorite, so I thought it would be a hit for tomorrow. And then I have a peanut butter pie that is also on the blog, and I have the crust going. It's an almond flour cocoa sugar crust. It's gonna bake for 10 minutes. Then I'll put all the peanut butter, cream, cheese, whipped cream stuff inside. It's so good. And then over here, well, first off, I have an actual mess because this is the reality of how I cook. But I'm working over here on the butter pie crust from the cookbook that's gonna turn into a peach pie. I have my peach pie filling over here, defrosting. It's from the peaches we got earlier this summer. So it's not my best work. I overfilled the pie pan a little bit. The crust has some whoopses in it, but I think it'll taste fine, so I'm putting it in the oven. I want the seams to stay together once it gets in the oven and starts to puff up. Why am I holding this? Here. Can you put it back on the table? Here.
I'm sure it would be quite difficult for you to tell through the camera, but it's only 3 degrees outside. And I'm kind of standing here out of the wind a little bit so that I could record this. But we're getting about between a 15 and 20 mile an hour wind. So that puts our wind chill well below 0 degrees. This is what you call a ground blizzard, guys. It's probably going to be a miserable day. So why do we preg check? Well, the reason is pretty simple. Really, we want to know whether the cow is pregnant or not. If the cow turns out to be open, then that gives us the ability to sell them at the sale barn and get rid of them. One of the bigger expenses that's associated with raising beef cattle is feeding them over the wintertime.
Good! Might be the only way I get famous.
I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Get people asking for your autograph.
There's a couple of different ways to preg check cattle. The way that we use is an ultrasound done rectally with the cattle, and that will tell us whether or not they're bred. And we can usually date that pregnancy. We can tell whether that cow has been bred for 60 days or maybe 45 days or 100 days. And that's useful information with our heifers, because with our heifers we artificially inseminate them. And so we will artificially inseminate the cow, and then we'll turn them out with the bull, and the bull will hopefully catch the ones that we missed on the next cycle. And so the vet can usually tell the difference between the cattle that were bred early, which would be an artificially inseminated cow, versus cattle that were bred later, which would be a bull bred cow. This is useful for us just simply in record keeping to let us know how we're doing from an artificially insemination standpoint, whether or not that AI tech, in this case me, did a good job. So that's just from a record keeping standpoint. When it comes to our cow herd, we don't actually artificially inseminate those. We just count on the bulls getting all that work done for us. So there we don't usually worry about a date so much. We just want to know whether or not they're bred. Once we've sorted off all the cows that were open, then we'll go through our records and determine how old those cows were, whether or not those cows had a calf last year or raised a good calf last year. If the cow did not raise a good calf last year, or had health problems or something along those lines, then we'll sell that cow as just an open cow. Now, even though we had 400 cows that we just finished, not all of those cows were mine. We're fortunate enough to have a very good friends and close neighbor that we lease our ground from and that we run our commercial cows on. So here at home we have our milk cows and just a couple of beef cows that we keep here. But the majority of the cattle that we worked that day was a very good friend of ours. So one homestead hack that I will give you guys here in the coming weeks is I'm going to preg check all the cattle that we have at home, our dairy cows and 1 or 2 beef cows that we've got here. And I'm not going to use the vet to do that, and I'm not going to do a rectal palpation to do that, and I'm not even going to do a blood test to do it. So it's going to be a homestead hack. So you're going to want to tune in the future to figure out how I do this, because it works really, really good on homestead.